We're looking at exchange rate terminology from the text. We want to now look at real exchange rate since we've already looked at nominal exchange rate. So now, when we talked about nominal exchange rate, we said it's the relative price of the currencies between two countries. The real exchange rate, however, is the relative price of the goods of two countries. So it's important to keep in mind the difference between nominal and real exchange rate. Nominal exchange rate is the relative price of currencies between two countries. It tells us the rate at which the currency of one country trades for the currency of another country. But real exchange rate is the relative price of the goods of two countries. It tells us the rate at which the goods and services of one country trade for the goods and services of another country. The way the text defines the real exchange rate is that it defines it as the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods expressed in the same currency and denotes it by the Greek lowercase epsilon. An alternative definition for the real exchange rate could be price of foreign goods relative to domestic goods expressed in the same currency, but the way the text defines it is the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods expressed in the same currency. So now let's look at how can we calculate the real exchange rate given how the text defines the real exchange rate and the nominal exchange rate. Remember, the real exchange rate is defined as price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods expressed in the same currency. So because we're looking at the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods, so that's why we can see the domestic price level is in the numerator of the formula and the foreign price level is in the denominator of the formula, where the asterisk indicates the foreign version of the variable. And the text, and here the definition of nominal exchange rate the text is using, we know is it's defining it as price of domestic currency in terms of foreign currency. A number of units as units of foreign currency per 1 unit of domestic currency. Right, and when we say, so in this formula, remember this is the formula given how we define the real exchange rate and the nominal exchange rate, given our definitions of real and nominal exchange rate. Right, so in this formula, we know P is domestic price level, P star is foreign price level, and E is how the text defines the nominal exchange rate as units of foreign currency per 1 unit of domestic currency. So when we said the real exchange rate is the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods expressed in the same currency. So we know because we're looking at the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods in our definition. So we have the domestic price level in the numerator and we have the foreign price level in the denominator. And we said expressed in the same currency. Now you can think about them being both expressed in foreign currency or both being expressed in domestic currency, right? So neither way will get the same result for the real exchange rate. So when we say that it's the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods expressed in the same currency, so you can think about them being expressed in either domestic or foreign currency, either way it's the same thing. Now it's important to keep in mind the real exchange rate, as the text mentions, that it's not directly observable. So you don't find this in newspapers. What you find in newspapers is nominal exchange rate. So that's why the real exchange rate is calculated using this formula by multiplying a domestic price level with our definition of the nominal exchange rate as number of units of foreign currency per 1 unit of domestic currency and dividing it by the foreign price level. Now, how do we interpret the real exchange rate? Now, say if the real exchange rate between the US, which is our domestic country, and the UK, our foreign country, is equal to 1. This means that a certain amount of dollars in the US buys you just as much in the US as if it were if you were to exchange these dollars for pounds and spend them in the UK. But what if the real exchange rate between US and UK was equal to 2? That would mean that the real exchange rate, which is defined as the price of domestic goods relative to foreign goods, is telling us that the US goods are twice as expensive as UK goods. So you can buy twice as much in the UK as in the US with the equivalent amount of money. Because remember, the way we define the real exchange rate is price of domestic relative to foreign goods. So the real exchange rate is 2. And that means US goods are twice as expensive as UK goods. So you can buy twice as much in the UK as in the US with the equivalent amount of money.